Good morning, friends, and welcome to Wake Up in the Word. Thanks for joining me this morning. We're in Genesis chapter number 12. Grab a good cup of coffee and let me ask you a question. How did that last scheme go when you didn't inquire of the Lord? How did your plans turn out when you allowed God no entrance into those plans, when you didn't even pray about it? You didn't seek God's face, or, even worse, sometimes we come up with our plan and then say, "Oh Lord, please bless this," and then we run with it even though God didn't approve of it. Well, that's what happens to Abram today in Genesis chapter 12 when he faces his first challenge, his first little trial. He flunks the test with a big F. Let's see what I'm talking about. In verse number 10, remember Abram and Sarai and all of their possessions, all their people, they've entered the land of Canaan. They've come to the promised land. But as soon as they get there, something happens. Now, Abram has worshiped. He's thanked God for the presence. But look what it tells us in verse 10. There was a famine in the land. So Abram went down to Egypt to stay there for a while because the famine in the land was severe. I know, let's don't be too hard on Abram. We've all made knee-jerk decisions before, but here is Abram, the one who followed God and his direction to the land of promise. But when the first difficulty arises, instead of seeking the Lord, instead of worshiping, he just heads to Egypt. There's the breadbasket of the world. That's where all the food is. Let's go down there. So in verse 11 it says, when he was about to enter Egypt, he said to his wife Sarai, "Look, I know what a beautiful woman you are. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, 'This is his wife.' They will kill me and let you live. Please say that you're my sister, so it'll go well for me because of you, and my life will be spared on your account." Now, Sarai doesn't apparently offer any objections to this, or at least they're not recorded in Scripture. She goes along with what her husband says. So now we've gone from not trusting the Lord through your time of famine in the land to let's invent a lie to save our own skin. And let's come up with this plan that will, allow me to live, even though I'm going to lose my wife maybe because of it. Abram at times doesn't look like the brightest piece of silver in the drawer, does he? I mean, he comes up with some strange ideas, and, God and the angels must just be shaking their head at some of this stuff as they watch it unfold. So it says in verse 14, when Abram entered Egypt, the Egyptians saw that the woman was very beautiful. Pharaoh's officials saw her and praised her to Pharaoh, so the woman was taken to Pharaoh's household. He treated Abram well because of her, and Abram acquired flocks and herds, male and female donkeys, male and female slaves, and camels. So Abram's getting rich on account of the idea that Pharaoh likes his sister. Oh, hang on. Is God going to put up with this? Verse 17, no, he's not. It says, but the Lord struck Pharaoh and his household with severe plagues because of Abram's wife Sarai. So Pharaoh sent for Abram and said, "What have you done to me? Why didn't you tell me that she was your wife?" Now, we don't know what revealed this truth to Pharaoh. If when everything started going bad, did Sarai tell him the truth? Was it a spy? Was it some other way that they learned what was really going on? It doesn't really matter. The fact is, Pharaoh discovers the truth, and then he becomes a man who apparently has more integrity than Abram. Look at his reaction. In verse 19, first he inquires. He says, "Why did you say she's my sister, so that I took her as my wife? Now here is your wife. Take her and go." And then Pharaoh gave his men orders about him, and they sent him away with his wife and all that he had. Now, at this point, Pharaoh could have had Abram executed. He could have done all kinds of things, could have taken many of his possessions, but instead he just said, "Please get away." Why? Because he understood something that apparently Abram didn't grasp at this point, that the hand of the Lord was with him and was upon him, and for someone to harm Abram meant that harm would come to them. He was already grasping a little more of the promise God had made at the beginning of Genesis 12 than even Abram was grasping. Oh, friends, listen. There's never a time in which our schemes are smarter than God. There's never going to be a time when we can't trust Him through life's difficulties. It doesn't matter if there's a famine. It doesn't matter if there's turmoil all around us. It doesn't matter if we're in the midst of war or a financial collapse or a lot of other things that perhaps are at our doorstep today. We who know the Lord have someone we can trust in our deepest times of trial. Abram doesn't learn that lesson easily, but he does learn it. And as he progresses in his spiritual walk, he may look a lot like some of us who stumble along the way, but eventually we finally get it right when we begin to learn more and more about the Lord and learn to love Him for who He really is and trust Him in our greatest difficulties. I hope that's where you are headed if you're not already there, so that you and I can face the difficulties of these coming days, knowing that even if the world around us is going crazy, God is still going to have His hand on His people. He's still going to bring us through. That's what a relationship with the Lord is all about, my friends. Thanks for waking up in the Word with me today. We're going to do this again tomorrow as we watch this life of Abram unfold and then see how these things really land square on where we are today. God bless you. You have a good one. I'll see you right here tomorrow.